Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today's video is a speed review, so I'm going to be sharing some quick thoughts on several products that I've been testing out recently. I have a couple of eyeshadow palettes, Urban Decay Naked Reloaded, and the new Ofra Symphony palette. I also have an Ofra highlighter that I got to try in the shade Retrograde. Finally sharing my thoughts on the Covergirl Skin Milk. I know this has been out for a while, but I've been testing it out a ton, and I'm finally ready to review it. And also two scalp exfoliating products. And I decided to start structuring my speed reviews by category of how I feel about the product. So we'll have one category for products that I'm loving, one for kind of meh or just okay products, and one for products that were kind of a fail or products I didn't like. I got that idea from Kelly Gooch. That's the way that she structures her speed reviews video, and I thought that was really smart, a good way to kind of get my thoughts organized and try and be as concise as possible in my reviews. So starting with the loves category. There's actually only one in the love category this time around, and that is actually the Ofra highlighter in the shade Retrograde. So this I did receive in PR through Octoly along with the Symphony palette. I was really excited to finally be able to test out this highlighter formula because it is kind of like a cult favorite. And I was also really excited to finally be able to add kind of a lavender highlighter to my collection because I didn't yet have anything like that. So it is split in half and you actually get two shades in one. The lavender shade is the shade Neptune, and the kind of more yellowy champagne color is Star Island. So it is kind of nice that you get two in one, and you can also of course mix them together, which is how I wear it most often. I feel like wearing the lavender on its own can be a little extreme and sometimes a little bit dark on my skin tone, but mixed with Star Island, it's the perfect lavender highlighter. So because it is in my loves category, you already know I do really love this product. I definitely agree with what I've heard about this formula over the years, which is that it is a very, very intense highlighter, so it's probably not the kind of highlighter you're going to want to purchase if you prefer a more subtle, barely there kind of highlighter look. This looks pretty metallic. I actually like applying it with a slightly fluffier, less dense highlighter brush. This is the e.l.f. Precision Feather Light highlighter brush. This is the one I applied it with today. It still shows up obviously very, very strong, but I like that a little bit better than my usual Real Techniques setting brush just because it is such an intense formula. I kind of like using a little bit more of a diffused brush with it. It does retail for $35, which is pretty pricey. To compare it to another one of my favorite high-end highlighter formulas, the Becca formula. These are $38, so it's a little bit less, and you do get more product. This comes with 10 grams, whereas a full-size Becca one comes with 7 grams. And if you're wondering how the formula compares to the Becca formula, it's even a little bit more metallic and intense. And I do feel like I have to be kind of careful with the Ofra one and not apply too much, or else it will kind of accentuate texture and just look a little crazy. With that in mind, you know, you can decide if that sounds like your kind of highlighter formula, but I personally am really, really loving it. So that is the only product that's in my love category this time around. Moving into the just okay category, this is where the majority of the products fit in. So speaking of Ofra, I've also been trying out their new Symphony eyeshadow palette. This is a 5-pan palette, which I really love. I'm loving smaller palettes these days. And this is such a beautiful color story for the fall. This I definitely wanted to put to the test because it is $32, which I feel like is kind of expensive for such a small number of eyeshadows. I think like all of their 5-pan palettes, it is based around one of their original highlighters, and that's the shade here in the middle. This is the shade Blissful. So the reason why this is in my just okay category is that I just felt like the formula was a little bit underwhelming considering the price, especially these two deeper matte shades, as the shades Tempo and Godiva. They're just kind of sheer, especially with the purple. I feel like I just have to keep building it and building it and building it to get the color payoff that I expect when I look at it in the pan. It's just a little bit light, and it's hard to build it up to get that rich intensity that you see right here that you would want out of it. Same with the brown. I really like this shade right here, the far left shade. That's the shade Sublime. It's like a purple with a little bit of a bronze flip to it, almost. Yeah, it's kind of a duochrome. That one's really pretty, really unique. I like that all over the lid. I like this sort of medium matte shade Charm, and then Blissful is nice, although I was also kind of hoping for that to be a little bit more intense and metallic on the eyes, but I do understand that it is just their highlighter formula packaged in an eyeshadow, so it's probably not going to be as intense as like a really, really foiled eyeshadow. Overall, I really have enjoyed playing with this palette. I do have a video up on my IGTV where I did a look using all 5 shades. It was kind of like a halo eye, and I really like the look that I got out of it. I'm really enjoying the color story, but I would not pay full price for this. Like, I would pay $20 to $25 for it. Keep in mind though, there are a lot of people who have affiliate codes with Ofra. They also gave me a discount code it's not an affiliate code or anything, but it's just OFRA 20. I think it only works on their website, but if you're wanting to place an order on there, I would definitely recommend not paying full price for this palette. The only other thing I'll mention is that this far left shade here, the kind of purpley bronze duochrome, that shade seemed to really stain my eyes pink. The first time I used it, I used the Derma E Universal Cleansing Balm to remove all my eye makeup, and usually that cleansing balm does a great job removing most of my eye makeup, especially eyeshadow has no problem, but that shade really stained my eyelids. The next time I wore it, I used a little like reusable makeup remover round, and it didn't stain my eyelids nearly as badly, maybe just a tiny bit. So that's just something weird to keep in mind. That's not a problem that I usually have with eyeshadows, but it doesn't necessarily bother me. Like, it's not like it irritated my eyelids, but it's just a very, like, I just rubbed it off and you can still kind of see the stain that it left behind. So it's a pretty intense, I guess, base to that shade. The other eyeshadow palette is also in the kind of just okay category, the Urban Decay Naked Reloaded palette. This is not at all new to the market, but I recently got it in a PR package from them. They had this like Zoom event for each like state of people on their PR list. So like they had a little Georgia Zoom get together a couple months ago, and I attended that. There were like 5 people there because there's not that many YouTubers in Georgia, but it was really fun, cool to kind of get to meet like some of the Urban Decay staff. And anyway, as a thank you, they sent like a few of their, I guess, kind of best-selling products out to us in a package, and this was one of them. So I didn't even know I was receiving this. I was kind of like, do I even want this palette? I was thinking about maybe just decluttering it altogether, but I was like, you know what, no, I want to test it out because it is kind of a classic. So the things I like about this are that they did leave out the brush. I would kind of prefer that brands would just start leaving out brushes and lowering the price a little bit. Urban Decay's brushes are usually like, they're fine, but they're not like amazing, like I need to have them. So I'm glad they left that out, and because of that they were able to make the packaging a little more compact than some of their other Naked palettes, so I do appreciate that. And the price is $44, whereas most of their other Naked palettes are $49, so I like that the price is a little bit lower. So this comes with 12 pretty neutral shades. It does lean a little bit warm, and there are 6 mattes and 6 shimmers, so a nice even distribution there. And overall, I really do enjoy this palette for just kind of an everyday neutral look. I like that I can get a little bit smoky with it. Today I have the shade Burn all over my lid. It's this kind of bronzy, shimmery brown. That's a beautiful color. I really like that for just kind of a smoky, bronzy kind of look. I am mostly wearing these shadows today, and then I am just wearing one of the shades from the Ofra palette. I have this medium matte color in my crease, but everything else is from here. So I just blended out the crease with like this matte shade, and then a little bit of the shade Retro kind of as a transition color. I really, really like that they included this matte peach in here. I think it adds something a little bit different, and I really like blending out kind of smokier looks with a peach like that in my crease. I just feel like it kind of brightens up and livens up the look a little bit. Overall, I think it's a pretty good quality palette. The mattes are definitely nice and smooth and blendable. I was a little disappointed by a couple of the shimmers, mainly the shade Dreamweaver. I think that this shade is a total dud. It's just really dry and flaky. Let me show you. I just kind of swatched it with my finger. And can you see how it just looks flaky and dry? And I know that the swatch doesn't always kind of tell the whole story, but that is very indicative of how this shade applies on the lid. I was hoping it would be a nice kind of deeper gray, sultry lid shade for a smoky eye, but the way that it goes on, it's just really dry and flaky, and you just have to keep building it and building it and building it to get the color intensity that you want, and even then it doesn't really look the way that I want it to. And I did try applying it with a wet brush. That didn't help at all. I tried applying it with my finger. It was just, I don't know, I just feel like that shade is a real dud. That's the only shade that I thought was really disappointing. It's not that I can't use it, but it's just like, you know, this is a high-end palette. I would expect a little bit better quality from that kind of a shade. The other shimmer shade that I feel like is a little disappointing is the shade Angel Fire. It's not nearly as disappointing as Dreamweaver, but you can see it's a little dry, a little flaky, but the way that it applies is really, really pretty. It's just like a light pearly pink, but it has a little bit of a gold shift to it that I think is really beautiful. But I did think that texture-wise, that one could have also been a little bit softer and smoother, not quite as flaky. But those are the two shades that I felt like were kind of disappointing. Everything else I've had a good experience with. Now, you'll notice that it has two really, really light matte shades, the shades Bribe and Blur. So Bribe on me is kind of similar to like ABH Tempera, definitely like a brow bone highlight kind of color, or a shade that I might use to set my eyelid primer. And then Blur is just ever so slightly deeper. It's only the tiniest bit deeper than my skin tone. I use that as kind of like a transition shade or a starting shade to just kind of warm up my crease a little bit, and then I'll go in with some deeper crease colors. I find having those two shades useful, but that's because I have such a fair skin tone. But I feel like if your skin tone is any deeper than mine, you might feel like that's kind of pointless to have both of those. And so for that reason, I do feel like the color selection is kind of more catered to light and fair skin tones. That's not to say that if you have a deeper skin tone, you wouldn't like it, and I definitely can't say for sure because I'm only speaking from my own experience, but you may feel like that's kind of like a waste of a shade right there. So because there is that one dud shade, and because I just wasn't blown away by the formula, that's why this is in the just okay category. I would say if you're wanting to buy this palette, try to get it on some sort of sale, and I do think it's a nice everyday neutral palette, but I don't think it's the best that you can find out there either. All right, so the Covergirl Skin Milk Foundation, this is newer to their line. It's been out for maybe a year now. I don't know, it's been out for a while. My friend actually sent me this, my friend from Canada. We did a collab video a couple months ago, and this was part of our swap. She loves this foundation. I was really excited to try it because I'd heard a lot of good things about it. I'd also heard a lot of really bad things about it, so I was just really curious to see what I thought of it. I have the shade Fair, and that is a really good match for my skin tone. So this claims to have a dewy finish, and then it says, blurs imperfections, evens out skin tone, sheer buildable coverage, instant and all-day hydration. So it sounds on paper like my kind of foundation. I do like kind of a sheer to buildable formula. I like dewy, I like hydrating, and I like blurring foundations. So that is what it claims to be, and I have had really, really good days with this foundation, and I've also had bad days with this foundation. So that, once again, is why it's in the just okay category. This is what I'm wearing today, and I do think it looks really, really pretty on my skin. Today I'm having a good day with it. I've had some days, though, where there's little, like, gritty particles in it. It leaves, like, weird flakes of grit on my skin that I have to kind of, like, scrape off with my fingernail. And sometimes it does the notorious Covergirl foundation thing where there's those little white particles after you've blended it in. I feel like that's a problem with a lot of Covergirl foundations. I've heard a lot of people mention that. This one occasionally does that, but not all the time. So what I've found is that when I shake it really, really well, that seems to help eliminate a lot of that grittiness. Today I'm wearing it over the NYX High Glass Primer, which is kind of a luminous primer. I feel like that's a beautiful combination, and I like applying it with a sponge. I found that to be the best way to just get a nice even finish. I've tried it with a brush. I did not like that, but to be fair, I don't normally like foundations applied with a brush. Sometimes I apply it with my fingers, which is okay, but I really just like applying with the sponge. I don't feel like that shears out the coverage too much. Coverage-wise, I would agree with the sheer buildable claim, so I feel like I was able to build it up to like light to medium coverage today. You can definitely still see some acne and acne scarring on my face, but the finish is beautiful. Yeah, I'm really loving it on my skin today. There have been other days, though, where it does just kind of look dry and makeup-y. I feel like as long as I prep my skin well with a good moisturizer, a nice hydrating sunscreen, and hydrating primer, I'm good to go. And as long as I shake it really, really well and apply it with a sponge. I hesitate to recommend it simply because I've heard a lot of really bad reviews, people who've had bad skin reactions to it. It's burned some people's skin. I haven't had any kind of negative adverse reactions to it, but I know that that has happened to a lot of people, so I almost am hesitant to recommend it because I would hate for it to cause something like that for your skin. So if you have really, really sensitive skin, definitely stay away from it. Definitely make sure you look at the ingredients and see if there's anything in there that is known to irritate your skin. It does have coconut oil and coconut fruit extract, and I guess coconut milk as well. I know coconut oil does break a lot of people out and it does irritate a lot of people's skin. I haven't found it to break out my skin at all. My skin's been breaking out, but like for other reasons, and my skin's been clearing up the last couple days, and I've been using this the last couple days. So this does not seem to be the cause of my breakouts, but I know a lot of people are sensitive to that. So be careful is what I would say. Like, if you can, maybe buy it from a store that you know you can return it if you do have a bad reaction. I usually don't advocate for returning products because I do feel like that can be wasteful, but if something is causing you an allergic reaction, you definitely want to return it. So yeah, I would say it's worth a try if it sounds like something you would like, but just know that there have been very mixed reviews, and it's been a little finicky for me, but not to the point where I want to like declutter it, because some days I really, really love it. So another just okay thing, this is the Yes to Scalp Relief Pre-Shampoo Scalp Scrub. So I have been using scalp scrubs for the last like 6 months or so, maybe even longer than that, and I feel like they really do make a difference for me. My scalp is very prone to dandruff and kind of itchiness and buildup, and just, it's annoying. So I do feel like a scalp scrub really helps me just kind of remove some of that buildup. I love the Zion Health Scalp Scrub. That one is my favorite. I've recommended that one a ton. When I used that one up, I was going to repurchase it, but then I came across this one at Target. It's a little bit cheaper, and I just wanted to give it a try and see if it was comparable. I don't like this one as much. It's a little bit thicker and grittier, and I just find it harder to get it to spread out evenly all across my scalp. I feel like I have to use a lot of it to get it spread out everywhere, and it's a little harder to rinse out. Also, the Zion Health one I was able to use in place of shampoo, not every single wash, but a couple times a week I would use that instead of shampoo, and it would like lather up and work the same way as a shampoo, plus it had the little exfoliation. Whereas this one is definitely a pre-shampoo scalp scrub. Like, you definitely want to shampoo with regular shampoo after you use this. So I don't love this one as much. I feel like it still works well, but it's just not as enjoyable to use, and I feel like it doesn't quite do as much for me as the Zion Health one. So maybe it's worth a try if you're wanting one that's a little bit cheaper. I think the Zion Health one is about $20. This one is $8, so much cheaper, but I just don't love it as much. So that, again, is in my just okay category. And then speaking of Zion Health, this is the one product that's in my like thumbs down category in this video. It's the only thing that I like don't like and would not recommend. This is the Zion Health Apple Cider Vinegar Foaming Scalp Detox. It says removes impurities and product buildup. So I was just saying I love their scalp scrub, which is a physical exfoliant. So this is kind of like the chemical exfoliant version of that. It's meant to do the same thing. And this has salicylic acid in it, which is a BHA chemical exfoliant, which I love on my face. And it's kind of ironic because I really, really prefer chemical exfoliants on my face. I don't ever really use physical exfoliants on my face. But on my scalp, I really do think I prefer a physical exfoliant. I just feel like they do a better job really removing that buildup that, I don't know, maybe I just haven't tried the right one. I don't know if there are that many chemical scalp exfoliants on the market, but this one just didn't really do it for me. I don't feel like it gives me the same results as their scalp scrub. It is kind of like a foam. I feel like I have to use a ton of pumps of this to like really spread it out evenly in my scalp. And I really don't like the scent. I was expecting it to smell like apple, kind of like their green apple scalp scrub, but this one really smells like cucumber or like cucumber melon, which is a scent that I'm really not all that crazy about. It's not a bad smell, but their scalp scrubs just smell so good that I was just like, this doesn't smell that good in comparison. So yeah, I was a little disappointed in this. I definitely will use it up, but I just don't feel like it gives me the same results that their scalp scrub does. So I'm looking forward to repurchasing that once I finish both of these things. Unless you have any other drugstore scalp scrubs that you do recommend, maybe I'd be willing to try those as well. So that's it for this speed reviews video. I hope it was helpful. Let me know if you have tried any of these products. Maybe you have a different skin tone or a different skin type and you want to share your experiences. I'm sure that would be very helpful for everyone else in the comment section if you would share that. If you enjoyed it, definitely make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you again very soon, and hopefully I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye.